Asthma affects individuals generally, and the impact is quite substantial. Earlier on, Dr. Paul had talked about it. Most of the patients who have asthma will probably have had asthma in their childhood. And so when you put both in terms of the economic burden and the disease burden, it's quite huge. Here you have a child who probably will not be able to attend school because he's having frequent attacks. That child is likely not going to do well in school. And that child is probably the future of the nation. But let's not forget that this same child cannot take care of himself. So he will need the parents to take care of them. The parents who in themselves will have to miss their jobs, or will have to reschedule jobs for so that they can attend to their sick child. So if you're able to harness or put together the cost of it, it's quite substantial. The other part of the impact is to look at in terms of costs too. Though we have effective drugs that are quite available, but the issue is that the costs, and even when you're able to get around the costs of this medication, the other thing is that people, the beliefs like Dr. Jumba talked about, belief practices, and all of that. So all of this actually add up to the impact of this challenge that we're having. And you can imagine that we still have up to like roughly 500,000 deaths that do occur. And maybe we didn't say this. It's important for us to know why we're making this noise. 90% of this challenge will occur in resource-scarce environment, of which we fall into. Even though we have available treatment and all of that, but majority of the impact and challenges we have will occur in our own environment. So it's important to take note of this. Then when we look at the impact overall, because this same child that is unable to have good control is likely not going to sleep well at home. The parents are likely not going to sleep well because of the challenges of their child. They are worried about the child who is not doing well. And once people don't sleep, it affects the quality of life they live. And once people can't get to do their daily day-to-day, it affects the output and productivity from such individuals. So it's like a vicious circle. And that's why we just have to make every effort to break it. We also talk about quality of life. You get to see the fact that sometimes the families that are involved with it seems to be like a community thing. They need to raise resources and all of this. So when we look about the impact and in terms of how it affects, it cuts across. It puts a lot of burden in terms of financial costs on those who are taking care of individuals who suffer from this disease. It also affects work, like my colleague has said. It affects, it causes absenteeism, both on the part of the sufferer and on part of the caregivers. It affects the quality of sleep and all of this. So when you put all of this together, it's quite enormous. And because all of these are affected, it brings about the psychosocial disorders that is commonly associated with asthma. Asthma has to do with a lot of all of these psychosocial problems. People are anxious. They are anxious about their treatment. They're anxious, will they die? They're anxious, will they get good outcome out of their treatment? So there's a lot of anxiety from both the sufferers and the caregiver. Again, we have the opposite side of it. Some people get depressed, especially when they get to maybe not too specialized individuals who can offer them a good management of their asthma. So they get depressed from the fact that they spend so much, but they are not seeing the output from the quality of care they are getting from the asthma. And all of it has to do, like my colleague has said, about education. It has to do with education. Because once people are well educated, they're empowered, and they make all the right choices and the right decision. They even know when things are not going well, when to seek a specialist, when to seek help from someone who can offer them correct and quality asthma care and management.